You've got health questions. We've got answers. Welcome to this week's episode, number 55 of Total Health Live. We're calling it Safe at Any Speed.
Is that what you're calling it?
I just decided to put that on the announcement just for the heck of it. I'm one of your hosts, Dr. Christopher Vogelmann of drvogelman.com. And with me, as always, is noted nutritionist to the stars, Monika Klein.
Noted. I'm noted. It's Monika. Hi, Monika Klein here, and welcome to be back. Welcome back. And I'm glad I'm back.
Are you glad you are back?
Be back. Yes, I am glad, and I've relocated my office situation here because why not? Why not?
Okay. I think you had some computer problems last week.
Yes, I was 2 weeks in a row, and I've yet to call my tech guy because that's always a journey and it takes time, and I just haven't had any time at all.
The joy of the journey.
You have the books. I have the supplement case here.
You got the supplement. Can you run back there and empty the supplement case, or is that that's too much probably for now?
Why did I empty it? You mean
no, I don't know, because sometimes you like to hold up a supplement.
I do. I like profs, but I have a shelf here that has many of my supplements too.
That's good. That's
good.
We're here to supplement your knowledge today.
We are.
Hey, last week we were talking about vaccines and efficacy and all kinds of different things like that. Anything new to report on the vaccine scene?
Well, I often talk about my aides. I have an aide who did the second dose of Pfizer on Monday, and he's still out sick. So I'm not sure if what's going on. It's really kind of interesting because the Pfizer, people weren't having issues with the Pfizer. It was really the Moderna. And I'm wondering, and I heard this, I don't know, I just heard this a rumor, or I don't know if it's a rumor or if it's like somebody reported it, that because I'm sort of like correlating these two things, but I heard that younger people are getting sicker. Yep. And I'm thinking it's because the reason that wasn't happening before is the younger people were getting it. And now the younger people are getting it. So that's why they tend to be sicker. So their immune system is fighting it off. I'm not sure what's going on, but this particular person is 42. So he's under that 55 age range.
Right. I do believe there are a couple of things that are going on right now. Right now, the dominant strain all across the United States is the UK variant, the B1117.
Yeah.
And so it could very well be that the B1117 is producing stronger reactions in the population, because the older population has already been vaccinated. They have a greater number of antibodies that the younger ones who've had nothing just don't have. And so that is a possibility. The other thing is too, that everybody reacts differently to vaccinations, because we talked about before many times about biochemical individuality, and genetically, I always think that there are going to be variations in terms of reaction. Now, we do have a nurse practitioner friend who actually has her doctorate as a nurse practitioner, and her advice or her observation is that in many people who have a strong reaction, she actually interprets it as a good thing because it shows their immune system is working.
Yeah. So it's sort of hyper vigilant. That's for sure. And, I've talked to all the physicians I talk to on a daily basis, and, they're seeing as well. They're seeing this difference, and but it's interesting. I mean, it could be the elder population has had it longer, and so they were protected against these other variants. But I don't know, because I've heard, for the last 3 months, I've heard different age ranges getting different company vaccination, Pfizer, Moderna. And even I had my sister had AstraZeneca, which they stopped giving to those under 55 because there was a higher incidence of blood clotting. And then I had my plumber come last week. That's why we had to cut our live here, last week short, and he had the Johnson & Johnson. And that's one dosage, of course, and no reaction whatsoever. And he's got a heart condition. So he's actually not very healthy. And again, I don't know too many people that have had the Johnson and Johnson, but yeah. So
I have a good friend who actually was offered, it was either Pfizer or Moderna, but then they did a mass vaccination event coming up soon, and he actually is going for the J&J because he has some compromised health issues, and as a result, he wants the one and done.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people would rather do that, than having to, I mean, a lot of people are having to wait for that second dosage too, which I don't know. My husband had another outbreak of shingles, and I'm not sure why that keeps happening to him. But he keeps having them very repeatedly. And he's never, I think you have to have 6 months without shingles in order to get the vaccine for that. So every condition has a different parameters, but we still don't know the parameters of this thing because it's so new.
Well, I mean, yeah, anytime you have a shingles outbreak, the immune system clearly is compromised because that herpes zoster virus exists in the ganglia of the nervous system, and it comes out when the time is right.
Yeah, and clearly he's got an autoimmune condition too, actually. So he's quite compromised, but he did not have any reactions to the Moderna at all, and so it's really quite revelatory, but still very confusing.
There's a lot of variants, a lot of confusion, and I do think that we'll know more, but we've got to wait probably 2 to 3 years to get a clearer picture. Maybe 5 years. It's true though, and the reason
it is true. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I worked in pharmaceuticals for a while, and years ago, what I do remember was Vioxx. Vioxx was tested on 10,000 or 40,000 people, and then and everything looked great until you released it into the environment, and 4 million people had the dose, and suddenly people were having fatal cardiac events and heart attacks and all kinds of things because the number of people was too small. And so with the vaccine, if you've tested on 10,000 people or 5,000, everything looks okay, you really won't know for sure what's going to happen until you send it out into a much larger population. So.
Yeah, and back to this particular person who had the Pfizer, he had quite severe nosebleed today, and I'm thinking, well, did his clotting function become affected as well? And then this is the Pfizer one, and the Pfizer one isn't known for the clotting problem. It's the AstraZeneca. Yeah. So it's like, what is going on? And maybe there's a variant, if you will, a variant or variation within the vaccines themselves.
Well, that's actually less likely that there's a variation in the vaccine. I would say that there is a variation in the variants that are going around because LA had its own. The California variant was one even before the UK variant. Yeah, and LA was the epicenter. So.
And there's still rampant new variants that I just read this morning about the Brazilian one. And that they're really
the South African one is another one.
South African one, yeah. So it was on our local patch here.
But apparently, the UK one is the most popular one in the United States right now. So.
Yeah, because it's English.
It's English. It speaks English.
We understand it.
The virus speaks like this. I'm here to infect you.
Yes, it's collective, and we want only English speakers.
I think it's more of a Cockney virus from what I just did.
Anyway, I don't want to. I mean, I used to think I did accents really well, and then one of my friends who was English. I mean, I used to do accents all the time, English ones, because you would say, "Wow, you did so great." And then this friend of mine, she was English, and she said she was like really offended. So I stopped. She was offended.
Hey, but if you can offend the virus, that's a good thing, and just get it the hell out of here. So.
Yeah. So I don't know where that patch report was, but I just read it just before we got on air. So yeah, but this is another thing. Okay, so variants. I mean, there are flu variants. There are flu variants all the time, but everyone seems to have the same symptom pattern when they do have a reaction, whereas this is not.
Yeah, by and large, though, I mean, it's interesting to see that people, even with COVID-19 symptoms, regardless of the variant, they have variable symptoms. Some people don't have loss of taste or smell.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
people only have headache. Some people,
Yeah, and
it's
that's the
crazy.
whole symptom pattern here
Yeah.
too. But his is this South African and Brazilian COVID
hmm
variants emerge in LA County. LA County officials confirmed the presence of two variants of
hmm
concern. But
hmm
every day I read something like this every day. And it's like we get
hmm
so, oh my God, enough already. I don't even want to read this anymore.
Well, I think that comes to the point of just working to maintain your health as much as possible, boosting your immune system, taking the D3 that you always recommend. I love a good form of vitamin C, and getting more plant-based and less sugar in your diet and all the good things to keep your immune system pumping, so that if you even do wind up with an infection, your symptoms are going to be less severe and your recovery time is going to be rapid.
But you know what else? It's
Mm.
also the saturation, the mental, emotional saturation of
hmm
this ongoing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one day it's up, one day it's down. I mean, it's like schizoid.
Psychosomatic,
It's
schizoid,
schizoid. It's like,
paranoid.
and it's affecting us. It's affecting us emotionally and in every way. And it's going to affect us physically if we're being affected emotionally like that. It's got to show up somewhere in the body. So, yeah.
I was going to say that I've actually tuned out a lot of the news, and I just read reports once in a while. I actually spend more time on my Twitter feed for 15 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes at night than I do watching any cable news or anything like that. And I do find that focusing on something constructive and happy and positive seems to help a great deal. Because yesterday I wound up with some sort of a weird thing. I was drinking water out of a plastic bottle, and I could taste the plastic, but I kept drinking like an idiot. And I wound up with what essentially was some sort of bacterial infection, plus probably the BPA stuff. And it was just horrendous symptoms. I almost thought I had, caught something far more severe, but it's a very interesting thing to recognize that sometimes the slightest thing can tip your system in a direction of being less healthy.
I've had that before, and it's affected
Yeah.
my stomach. It's given me sort of a stomach ache or even
Yeah.
nausea. So be careful with plastic bottles. Water.
Yeah, I do, especially because this one had, in particular, we packed up a bunch of stuff. I think it was last year, and this was stored in the garage since March of last year, and it did get very hot in the garage over last summer.
It was
And
hot.
and sure enough, it's just like, we're just to the point now where, okay, we're getting rid of all those BPA plastic bottles. The only one I would still keep, there's only one there that is BPA free, and that one seems to be A-okay. But the rest,
BPA free.
BPA A-okay. So, hey, let's get to some questions.
We have all the questions from last week.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, hopefully you guys are not too frustrated that we didn't get to you.
They're always evolving.
From the Buckeye State, we have Phyllis from Dayton. She says, oh, this sounds familiar. I need to puree food for my husband who's having swallowing issues. What's the best way to learn how to do that? And what, for example, are the best things to actually puree?
Well,
you've got experience.
Good question. I had someone here that was the expert, and she left, and now I'm having to figure it out on myself. So, it depends why he's needing the puree, if it's just temporary. So you definitely want to stay away from things that are sinewy and fibrous.
Yeah.
Things like celery don't want to puree. If you're looking at vegetable celery, asparagus, broccoli, broccoli has all these little seeds.
Could you puree celery if it was cooked? That's my question.
No, okay. It's really hard to break that fiber down in a puree environment, if you will. Mm-hmm. So you want to have things that are easy. Like yesterday, I made zucchini, and I put some onions and garlic. So I basically cook that all. So you want to make the onions very soft. You want to make everything soft before you put it in the blender or your Cuisinart or food processor. You want to make it as soft before you do that as possible. It needs to be really well cooked.
Not snuggly soft, though.
What's that?
Not snuggly soft.
Well, it could be snuggly soft.
Snuggly soft puree.
Yeah.
But you cook most stuff before you puree, as opposed to doing.
That's what I'm saying. You have to cook everything. You have to cook everything really well and make it soft before you put it in the blend. Before you put it in to be blended, and don't ever try to do bread or any kind of cereal. I've had people try to do a waffle.
A waffle, pureed waffle.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't do that. So even a donut, I've had that pureed.
A pureed donut? Was that from the donut guy?
Yeah. But also things that are tougher also are like meat and chicken. Those are the tougher. They do it in the hospital if they have big commercial blenders, but it's really tough to do at home. It's a little bit of tougher meat. It depends on what kind of beef it is. Certainly, the harder cut will be harder to puree, but fish is really easy. Tuna, vegetables like, squash and sweet potato and cauliflower, believe it or not, that's really great for pureeing.
That makes sense to me, because smashed cauliflower is a great.
That's the puree.
That's the puree line.
Hotline.
The puree hotline. People are calling in. Can I puree all day?
It does take a fair bit of skill. Like, if your husband is just, say, for example, it's a tonsillectomy or something like that, or, something that's just temporary. It depends on the swallowability. Usually with tonsillectomies, they're, recommending applesauce and, soft
ice
cream and yogurts. But you want to have a healthy diet. I mean, you want to have the vegetables in there. Certainly with fruit too, you want to, mash it up and cook the apples before you make the applesauce, and the pears or whatever you're using. I mean, it's really, need to make it sort of like pablum, really. So what vegetables are good for that? So I sometimes use bok choy. I sometimes will, I'm just trying to, carrots are great too. Carrots are great and easy. So you want to just make them really nice and soft before you puree them.
Would Brussels sprouts work, or is that too much fiber?
No, it's a little bit too hard. Cruciferous, cruciferous vegetables are a little too hard.
With the exception of cauliflower.
I mean, I do a lot of soups. And so, I do a lot of soups, so spinach and leeks and all sorts of greens are quite easy. But is it pureed that he's needing, or is it soups? And sometimes some of those soups can be really thick, and they're almost like puree.
Yeah.
Pumpkin is great too.
Yeah. So Phyllis, if you need more detail or you can give us more information, you can just put your question or clarification down below this video, and we'll get a notification, bing, and we'll be able to answer that question for you. Or you can
call the Puree hotline.
Call their Puree hotline, or send a direct message on the Coaching for Health or Total Health Live, whatever platform you're looking at right now, and we will get notified of your comment or your question. So
Puree hotline.
The Puree hotline.
818-991-4560.
For Puree. Puree the day away. Hey, so from South Carolina comes Will from Greenville. He asks, when is the best time of year to do a detox program? I wish I would like to know which detox program, but then again, that's like saying, when is the best time to do surgery?
Well, detox programs, any kind of detox program is better at the change of season. Usually spring and fall are the best times to do it. Detox program. And in fact, I'm starting another detox program on Monday. So
pumpkins? No pumpkins. No pumpkins?
I guess I'm going to be pumpkin free, but I'll have to use, squashes and
squish that squash. You're not going to puree in your own detox, are you?
Well, we do make a lot of soups, so they're really easy. As I was saying, it's kind of like similar to making soups, and making puree is kind of similar. I do have some frozen pumpkin though, but that's kind of a no-no. Frozen foods are not kind of a no-no for Ayurvedic detoxes, but anyway, we'll see.
I also think detoxes are good when you're feeling sluggish or low energy, or you've put on a little extra weight in terms of, I do think that that's a good time also. And I've done that before where I'm feeling, not so hot, a little fatigued. And I find that a detox often can help to boost the energy again, just by getting rid of a lot of toxins that may be hanging around. So,
yeah, I mean, sometimes that's good, but sometimes you might be in that scenario. It might be too much of a weakened state. So I would recommend not doing a full a big detox.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, you could do a 3-day or a 5-day or something, just where you kind of eliminate a few things. And I often find that I don't do this anymore, but when I was binging on ice cream or something like that, I just stayed away from it for a couple of weeks. It was almost like I was doing a detox because I didn't have the sugar load. Ice cream free. Ice cream fury.
Wow.
And I would imagine that, if you melt your ice cream, that would be a nice puree too, but not necessarily helpful. So,
with my husband, because he has a swallowing issue, he can't have ice cream because it melts and turns into liquid.
Melts in your mouth and in your hand.
And everywhere else.
It melts out around everywhere. Well, hopefully, Will, that helps you in terms of, seasonal. I do agree with that because Ayurvedic medicine talks about that. Traditional Chinese medicine, which I studied, also talked about seasonal acupuncture, seasonal detox, and because your body does go through a certain circadian rhythm on a much larger scale than 24 hours.
Yeah. So it's cyclical. Definitely seasonal is great. But I think the main thing is when you have time to carve out some time to focus on, on your, this program. I think that's the best time. So that could be any time. So if it's not seasonal, just pick the right time. And when I say the right time, that gives you an opportunity to push it off and push it off and push it off. Just pick a time and focus and, dedicate yourself to that particular time and program and to yourself.
Yeah. I like the prep, and then, not trying sometimes even just kind of easing off of some of the things that might be overloading your system is good in advance, as opposed to just shocking your system.
Yeah. In Ayurveda, it's called, a detox program, a very intense Ayurvedic detox program is called a panchakarma.
Boom. I always think of punching. Panchakarma.
It punches it out of you. No, it's very gentle. I mean, it can be kind of rigorous, but they have something called a purvakarma, which is just before. So it's exactly what you're saying, this sort of pre-detox, if you will.
Your prelude to the big event.
You start taking out some coffee. You start taking out the alcohol. You start taking out some of these more congesting foods slowly.
Yeah, so slow and steady wins the race, but hopefully, Will, that'll answer your question. If you want more clarification, as we said below, just put your comment in below and we'll get back to you. Where's Porter Ranch? Is that California?
Porter Ranch is just up the road here.
Oh, well then we have
an hour, 40 minutes from us. But
we have one of your neighbors. Yvonne is from Porter Ranch.
Hi.
She says, I've been seeing a lot of ads lately for growing your own food in small areas like patios, fire escapes, and porches, and so forth. Are these companies who sell the seed flats reputable?
It's interesting, and I wish I had my show and tell because
your show and tell.
You're
growing.
I got some hamama. I sent them as gifts for Christmas, and I also got some for my birthday, which was last month. And the first flat, it comes in this tray, and it's a flat, and you add water and you dunk it and you let it sit there for 10 days, and then it starts sprouting. And I wish it's such a great thing to show you, but I don't have it in front of me. But the first batch, nothing. It just didn't do anything. And it's because I was adding water, and also
too much probably, or
well, you're not supposed to add water unless.
Oh, well, that explains a lot.
I guess I should have read.
We're so used to things like in the instant world. Hey, you can have this right away. Just add water.
Adding. Well, I've done this before because my cat had this little thing, this little garden where it was grasses. Like it was actually like barley and different kinds of grain grasses that cats apparently love. She loved it. She ate it.
This was your cat flat?
No, this was for me, and then there was another one. So I kept adding water to hers, and I thought it would translate into mine, but it didn't. But my second batch, it was sort of like a mustard greens kind of sprouts. Delicious. beautiful. And now I've started a kale batch, but it's just a little bit. It's just enough. You just add a little bit to your your meal, your salads, and it's really kind of nice to have fresh sprouts or fresh vegetables right then and right there. But there's a lot of companies that are doing this right now. So yeah.
Beyond Hamama.
Hamama. There's a bunch, and so try them out.
Yeah, that's good. That sounds good. So yeah, please, you can do show and tell next time we're around.
Yes.
Hopefully your computer will be working better, or you just bring the flat over to where it's at.
I mean, I could have. It's right there, but I have nothing to show because this is the second batch, which we just started yesterday.
Gotcha. Oh, from the other side of the country, Vicky from Miami asks. She says, "Where I live, the beach is everything. I need to get about 20 pounds off in the next 1 to 2 months. Is that doable in a healthy way?"
Well, I think the beach is everything here too in Southern California. So, yeah, it is doable 1 to 2 months, but you have to jump on it and don't be thinking, I'm just going to do it to look good on the beach. Be thinking healthy eating, you'll have to take out the things that tend to be weight gaining foods, and and how you eat, not eating after 6 o'clock, eating less, eating fresh fruits and vegetables and meat. And that's pretty much what you want to do. And maybe take out some of the grains for now, some of the breads and the grains, initially you might want to do that. I mean, there are various different programs. I know my Skinny Jeans weight loss program, we took out the grains for 5 weeks, and the weight loss was significant, 10 to 20 pounds within a 5-week period. So it can be done. It's nice when you have help. It's nice when you can work with a professional that can help you along the way and support you, and, someone you can be accountable to. So it's definitely doable. You just need to commit and stick with it.
Yeah, I think that that having the accountability person, the support, especially if you get some weird symptom patterns, it's always important to have that. That's what we did with our weight loss clinic that I had back in Washington, D.C. before I moved out here to California. But I think also, Vicky, one thing I would not admonish you, but just recommend that you think of this more as not so much a pounds. It's not a game of pounds. It's a game of inches. Because I've had people who I've worked with who didn't lose a single pound of weight, but they dropped a couple dress sizes because they built up muscle and they reduced the percentage of body fat.
Yeah. So you could be 150 pounds and be a size 12 or a size 8.
Exactly.
Depends on what your body composition is. So yeah, I would recommend that you do measure your inches right from the get-go. So not just the scale. And do your inches, and do it on a weekly basis. Don't do it every day, especially. I mean, some people can do that, but it plays with your brain. It plays with your mind. And when you see that you've lost a pound, you think, oh, I'm doing really well. I guess I could cheat a little bit. You play these mind games with yourself, and they're really not beneficial. So after a week, it gives you a better idea of how you're losing, what you're losing. And so I would recommend to just leave it to that only one time.
Yeah. And the so-called water weight, which is basically your muscle glycogen, will disappear quickly. And so you'll see rapid weight loss, but that really is, what they refer to as the water weight.
Yeah. And that's usually in the first week or two.
Yeah.
You're going to see that water weight loss. And, I'm sure, most people have been on a diet. So I'm sure some of this that we're talking about, but yeah, it's really helpful to have some accountability. And when Christopher was mentioning, some symptoms could be anywhere from being constipated. What can you do? Easy. Take a couple of magnesium. That helps you. That moves your bowels. Or, more hunger, or some muscle cramping. When you're losing all this water weight, your electrolytes may be out of balance a little bit. So you may need to take something. You may need to take potassium or something like that, or drink more water. So these are kinds of symptoms. Headache, that's a detoxification sign. What can you do? You take additional water again, and maybe some vitamin C. That'll help you as well. So there's all sorts of things, and it really helps to work with someone who knows knows what they're doing, that can help you guide you. So it's not like an immense, uncomfortable and unpleasant experience.
Hey, you know what you're doing.
Hey, you do. You need a cheerleader, and you need someone who knows how your body works.
Monika and her skinny jeans pom-poms. Hey, so going back to our Q&A things, hopefully that's helpful to you.
And yes,
Whoa.
you can do it.
Vicky, yes, you can.
Yes,
Sí
you
se
can.
puede. Sí se puede. So, from the great state of Nebraska. This is really funny to me in some way because Steve from Omaha, I'm thinking Omaha Steaks. Steve from Omaha asks, I love meat, but I think I should start eating more plant-based diet for many reasons. I'm trying to get my family on board with this change. What would you recommend?
You know, it's so interesting because I just did a video that I'm going to probably post today, and it was specifically about that. You know, how to become more plant-based. Well, what you want to do is concerted effort to you know, if you're having meat 4 or 5 times a week, have it 3 times a week. So gradually start replacing the meat for other things.Maybe meat to fish. Meat to chicken. Like, I'm not sure what you mean by meat, because a lot of people when they say meat, they mean all these.
They meet the criteria of meat.
They mean all the animal protein. So they mean fish and chicken, and all of that's glommed into the same category. So I'm not sure, but what you want to do is maybe instead of the chicken or the poultry or the red meat, you want to start bringing in more fish for a while, and then bring some more grains in.
Or you could bring in some pre-chickens, which we call hen's eggs.
You can, yes, definitely chickens, definitely eggs. I mean, I've been sort of on a thing this week with poached eggs. I'm loving poached eggs. So I'm having poached eggs with this gluten-free grain bread. And then I've got asparagus and sweet potatoes and my little mustard greens and avocado. And that is my dinner. It
actually sounds great. I'm salivating right now.
I mean, I am too. I started for dinner tonight because I'm going to do it again. I mean, you know, don't be afraid of having more than 3 eggs a week.
Yeah, no, in fact, eggs are one of the most maligned sources of protein that there is. Everybody's so worried about dietary cholesterol, but there really is no definite link between dietary cholesterol and blood levels.
And I think that's changed over the last 10, 15 years. I think people have
to some extent
that eggs are okay. And there's no real correlation between eggs and cholesterol.
I mean, I think the egg beaters just seem so incredibly artificial, or just these egg whites in a carton. Ugh.
Yeah. So the egg is the most perfect protein. That's what I learned in Nutrition 101. The egg is the most perfect protein. And have the whole egg, Mother Nature made it for a reason. The yolk and the white go together, and they're delicious.
That's no joke. Eat your yolk.
Eat your yolk.
That's what we're doing. But yeah, plant-based. So what do you think about the artificial things like Beyond Meat and the Impossible
No.
and stuff like that? No.
You just explained why it's no good. You said artificial. There you have it.
Well,
it's artificial. It's artificial. It's not real. It's not good.
But it's also very popular. It's becoming very popular. I think that's the great challenge.
Popular that aren't good for you. I mean, everyone was, what was it? Agave. Everything was agave, and then we realized that it was really very similar to high fructose corn syrup.
Right.
So, and I think a lot of people still don't know that, and how toxic to the liver that is. So just because something is popular doesn't mean it's good for you.
Water is popular.
Yeah, that's good for you.
Okay.
Just because it's popular, there are things that are popular that are good for you. Like everything became kale. Like kale. Newfound, the chalice of hope and newfound, like everyone just discovered it, in the last 10 years or so.
Oh, my retort usually is, kale, no.
Oh, kale, no. And it was kale. Everything was kale. Everything was about kale.
I do like kale chips, though. Homemade kale chips are really good. I mean, because it gives you that crunch feeling.
Kale is good, and so is chard, and so is
Yeah.
your mustard greens, and so I like all the greens. But it's not just about your greens. Not just eat your greens. I mean, I know someone
Eat your oranges.
eat your colors. You
Your
know,
colors.
Yeah, someone that I know, and I'm remiss in remembering her name. Please forgive me if you're watching this. She wrote a book called "Eat Your Colors," and she was a fellow nutrition expert as well. And so, yeah,
but not Crayolas.
Not those kinds of colors.
Not those.
Colors of Mother Nature.
Yes. I, in fact, like the colors. I wound up at Whole Foods more than once buying by mistake a bag of carrots that had many different colors in it.
Yes.
And I will tell you, the purple carrot was the most delicious thing I've almost ever tasted. Purple organic carrot.
It's not purple inside, is it?
No, it's yellow inside. There's a streak of yellow inside, but there's enough purple on the outside as you go in. It's sort of like a nature's Tootsie Roll or something. You know, the inside is not.
Is it hybridized? I'm not sure.
I don't know, but it was absolutely delicious. I couldn't wait for the purple. I would save the purple ones on my plate just to go after that one at the end.
It's like the purple potatoes too. You know, those are yummy. I mean, they're all yummy.
Potatoes always fascinate me because I think it's like 80 plus or 85% of potatoes grown in the United States are grown to the specifications of McDonald's for French fries. It's the same damn species. And if you go to South America and a lot of these countries, they'll have 3,000 to 5,000 different varieties of potatoes.
Yeah, well, you know, in Europe and Eastern European, potatoes were everything. In Ireland, and I mean, potatoes are like potatoes and rice are such an important food staple for many, many cultures throughout the world. So those are great things you want to introduce into your diet if you're wanting to become more plant-based. You want to, introduce some of the starches in those categories. Quinoa, and certainly, some of the other grains, quinoa, millet, amaranth, buckwheat. Try them out. And I'm not sure if your wife is cooking for you. Steve, if everyone, you said you have challenges getting your family on board. So have a family talk. Get your wife on board first. Hopefully she'll be interested.
Well, I'm also wondering, Steve, if you can't do some of the cooking.
Yeah, that would be helpful. She'll love it.
Show them. Do a meatless lunch or something, or a meatless Monday, and get a recipe. I mean, you could even get a delivery of items to create a meatless meal just to start with, if you're a little reluctant to do all the shopping yourself, just as an experiment. I mean, this is going to be an experimentation for you, just as anything else is in life.
I've coached a lot of vegetarians in the past, and I've put them on many of my programs. So, depending, I mean, if they're pescatarian, of course they're going to have fish, but they'll usually have cheese, some sort of dairy, yogurts, and the eggs usually will be part of their diet. So, so just dive in and start having fun.
Dive in, have fun. Go meat free, at least for a little bit. And then sometimes it's just having one or two meals that are the meat free as you're going more plant based, as opposed to just saying, okay, meat is now banned in the entire household for a month. I mean, you're going to get a lot of pushback on that one.
Exactly. I'm primarily plant based, but I will have, meat, every once in a while, like maybe a couple of times a week, or maybe once every 2 weeks, or 3 times a month. It's just, and also your taste buds change, So
I've noticed that. Yeah. Okay. So Devin from the City of Angels, Los Angeles, asks, another neighbor. Everybody's your neighbor. Nobody's from my neck of the woods. Do you recommend, oh, here's something, because we go back and forth to the border on a regular basis, and we see these signs in Mexico, even advertising stuff in San Diego. It says, do you recommend liposuction? I've lost 50 pounds in the last year and feel like I could benefit. I've had friends who've been happy doing it, but should I? So my question is, are you talking about getting rid of the excess skin folds, or are you talking about continuing your diet with supplementing with liposuction? I'm not quite sure about your question.
Well, I would think that we're addressing the skin fold.
Oh, the skin. Okay. Because
That's
Yeah,
what that
because
means.
okay, that's what the question was. Because I was thinking about, liposuction in and of itself. You may not be needing that since you seem to be good at losing fat.
Yeah, sometimes, usually it's about that. I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes it's a vanity thing,
yeah.
and where you don't have that vast amount of weight loss, and it's not that. It's just I want to get rid of this pouch, this belly pouch or whatever. So do I recommend liposuction? Well, it depends. I mean, it really depends.
It may not solve all your problems, though, because I've
Yeah.
had patients who've done the gastric bypass and the band and other things who have actually, with gastric bypass, who have actually eventually gained weight because they would eat smaller meals, but they started eating more frequent smaller meals. And so they kind of did in any potential benefit of having the gastric bypass.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if you did any extreme things like a bypass or
the band,
sort of gastric surgery.
Yeah.
But if it was a natural process, you probably don't have that skin hang because it was probably a slower process unless you did something extreme. So your body and your skin should be more resilient as you lose weight in a healthy way. You won't be it shouldn't be sagging like it would if it were extreme and very rapid. So I would recommend exercise first. And, if you're not happy, then it's up to you if you're not happy with that. But yeah, I mean, I think sometimes people have to have a couple of liposuctions, and liposuction can go wrong. I mean, it is a surgical procedure. So, there's always a risk involved.
Well, this may be more of a tummy tuck issue than liposuction, maybe. I mean, it depends on, as you said, it depends on how fast you've been losing that weight. Because if it's slow enough, your body will adapt.
Is a liposuction. Tummy tuck is a liposuction.
Well, I've had people actually do this. I've had people who've done liposuction who did not require the so-called tummy tuck. So only because they were trying to remove excess skin. So
so it depends if it's on your hips. Where is it in your body? Where
is it extreme belly fat? That might be one of the issues that you're having.
I mean, sometimes, especially with women who have had children, sometimes they want to get rid of that that droopy belly or that that muscle that's lost tone and or that skin that's lost tone and so it's up to you. Look at the risks and decide.
And those of you who are currently watching, or those of you who are watching on replays, please give us those little hearts and likes and loves and stuff.
And
actually,
tell us what you think about liposuction. We want to hear what you think too. Let's have some conversation going.
Keep that conversation going.
Devin isn't the only one that has that question.
Devin. Is Devin male or female? That's what I'm trying to.
I think Devin is a female. I
thought Devin was a male because I know two Devins who are males. That's so funny.
Oh, interesting.
It's really interesting. My only Devins are males.
Well, it's one of those names, right?
What a general neutral name like Pat. Pat.
Yeah.
All right, so we have this for today. I think we've pretty much run through the existing questions. Any of their other comments or things you want to cover?
I think we've done. I think you've done a great job of sending these questions, and we just thoroughly appreciate your interest in hearing what we have to say, and hopefully it gives you some clarification, some answers, or some ways to think further about your what you're thinking about. And
keep those questions coming, because for example we broadcast on multiple locations, so if you put that question into the YouTube thing or the Twitter or any of the Facebook pages or groups that you're on right now, we will see those. And always, if you can do the hashtag replay, that also pings us to let us know that you are watching. And
ping us anytime.
Keep them coming. You don't mean a thing if you ain't do that ping. If you don't do that,
ping us anytime.
Ping us. All right. We'll be back later. Have a good weekend.
See you for 56 or 56th
56. 56 was a
sixth show.
We'll share some tricks when we do number 56.